Just sent it to you.
Okay. I do have a 4 o'clock today, so don't let me forget and go over.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't done any of these. Let's do the easiest one first. Number 8. Am I going to do number 8?
Oh, you just take the base. You just do the
volume.
height times the.
Yeah, it's a rectangular prism.
Yeah, so it's just 4 by 8 by 20.
Right. Okay. 4 by 8 by 20 is 640 cubic centimeters. And if we go back to our other page, this is aluminum, which has a density of 2.81. 2.81 grams per cubic centimeter. So the total weight needs to be in grams. And one thing you always want to pay attention to with these kind of problems is your units. If you don't use the units, you can get off easy. You can divide by 2.81 instead of multiply. We know we have to multiply because that's going to cancel out with that, leaving me grams. So whatever 640 times 2.81 is. That's the weight of the aluminum.
1798.4.
Okay. Hearing a buzzing background.
I do?
Yeah, you don't hear that?
I hear it for you a little bit.
No. Well, it went away now, but it was pretty strong there for a while. All right.
Yeah, does that happen on with yours too?
Let's look at number 6. All right. What is the volume of the clump of metal?
It would be 25 by 2.
Good. In other words, the amount of water that got displaced. Cubic centimeters, right?
Area of the base.
Right. The area of the base is 5 times 5, so 25 times 2. And she weighs the metal and finds out that its weight is 525 grams. Well, let's go back to our general equation. Our general equation says that weight equals volume times density. Right?
Yep, so you would divide 525 by 50, and you get.
So 525 is the weight. The volume is 50. That's going to give us our density. About 10.5.
Yeah, 10.5, which means it's silver.
Right. Gold's 19. Gold's almost twice as dense as silver. Okay. Well, we might as well just start every single problem out with weight equals volume times density. Because they're going to give us two of the three. We know it's sodium, so we can immediately replace the density with 0.97. 0.97 grams per cubic centimeter. Its weight is 145.5 grams. So, what do we need to solve for here first?
To solve for the volume.
Okay, what is the volume equal to? It's this number divided by 0.97.
What number? Oh, 145.5. Okay. It's 150. Oh,
Exactly.
yeah. Should be. Yeah.
And notice that that's going to be cubic centimeters. In other words, when I take grams and I divide it by 0.97 grams per cubic centimeters, and I flip and multiply, I end up with cubic centimeters. So you're saying that number is 150?
Mm-hmm.
So the volume is 150 cubic centimeters. And now let's go back to our information. We have a base that's 10 by 10. So what do we need to substitute for volume? We need to substitute the width times the length times the height. Well, the width is 10, the length is 10, and the height is what we're trying to solve. And notice that that's 10 centimeters, that's 10 centimeters. So we're going to divide, to solve for h, we're going to divide 150 cubic centimeters by 100 square centimeters. And we end up with
1.5.
1.5 centimeters is how much the water should go up. Now let me just make sure I didn't miss something in there. Yeah, because if it wasn't sodium, it wouldn't weigh that much, the same amount of volume of it. So, yeah, no, we did it right. These are always a little more complicated than, it's funny, this might be new to the geometry curriculum. I don't remember doing displacement and density last year with any of my geometry students. And this is regular and honors geometry that are doing these. Okay, tell me how to do 9.
We would take the volume and multiply it by the density to get the.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the volume of the gold equal to?
It would be pi r squared times height, so it would be 5 squared. Oh no, 6 squared times 5.
The diameter is 6.
Oh, so 3. Okay.
So it's 9 pi times 5 is equal to the volume of the gold, which is 45 pi. And you said multiply it by the density. Gold's 19.3, and that volume's in cubic centimeters. You multiply it by 19.3 grams per cubic centimeter. And then the volume of platinum is a cone.
So it would be
It's the general formula.
4 squared pi times height all divided by 3.
What's the volume for a cone? Anything that goes to a point always needs to start out with 1/3.
Okay, that's what I meant with a divide by 3, but 1/3.
Oh, I didn't even hear you say that. It's, I have a preference of starting all my equations with the fraction rather than ending the expression by dividing by that denominator. And the reason I do is because a lot of people will forget that final division. In other words, they'll do pi r squared h, and they'll forget to say divided by 3. Whereas if you start out the formula with that 1/3 or 1/2, whatever it is, then you never forget it.
Okay.
So what does that translate to? For our cone here that has a diameter of 8.
16 pi times 21.
And let's see, I can do that. So that looks like 112 pi. Oh, we got to multiply that by the density of platinum. 21.4. So I'm going to multiply that. One of the reasons you should use units is so that you don't almost make the mistake that I almost just made. Because I didn't put the units on it, I immediately thought, well, maybe that's my answer. But I got to multiply it by 21.4. And if I had units on there, that near mistake would have been evident. So what's bigger, 20 times 45 or 20 times 112?
20 times 112.
There's your heavier object. And what did it ask for? Just which one was heavier? Or
That's worth more, but
which is worth more?
I believe
Which will weigh more. So we figured out which would weigh more.
I think that's what it meant by which is worth more. Because it's the density and weight of material.
There's another variable you would need to consider that, and that's the price per ounce or per gram. And they don't give us that. This is just density. It so happens that gold is worth close to the same price as platinum. And worth about 50 times what silver is. So that question really doesn't make sense. Which is worth more? You should write in there more information required, like what's the price of gold versus platinum? We certainly have the platinum weighing almost 3 times as much. And it turns out platinum is a little more valuable per ounce than gold is, so it's worth quite a bit more, but we didn't have that information. So. All right, let's see if we can knock off this last one in 10 minutes here. Well, before I even finish reading it, it's clear we need to figure out the volume of it, right? So let's do that, just because by the time I read it, I'm forgetting the first part of it. So the volume of this object is, if he places it into this container that's 10 centimeters on each side, and it was at 53 centimeters, and after he puts the medallion in it, it's at 54.6, what's its volume?
110.6, which would be 160.
Okay. And now, let's see.
And then you,
has a density, gold has a density of 19.3.
So if you multiply it by 19.3, you should get your answer.
Well, that would give the weight of it, huh? So multiply those two together. Is it?
It's gold.
It's 3,088 is the answer?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's all you would need. Although, problem with that logic is that how do we know there aren't other materials that have that same density? In other words, what if there was some other metal that's not on this table that has that density of 19.3? Then you would not be able to say that it's gold. It's all you would know is that whatever the material is, it had a density of 19.3 because it weighed this much. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What is the volume of the medallion? Is it gold or is he see? He says, okay. So this was a 10-sentence problem, not because it was hard, but because they're trying to...
Who writes these worksheets is...
Right, they're just trying to add a little story to it, make it a little more interesting.
Most of us are slightly convinced he's certifiably insane. Like, he does these on all the tests and stuff like that.
I've always kind of thought that way myself. It's like I've never got... I haven't seen you do it, but a lot of them have these puzzles at the bottom where you fill in the letter and it spells something out, a sentence, and so you have to solve what the sentence is, and you get it by satisfactorily answering each question, which produces a letter, and then you know what the sentence is. I never have cared for that too much either, and I notice I do have some geometry students that still do that.
Yeah, they do.
That generally goes away by geometry. Once you get to algebra 2 and higher, they stop treating you like kids, which is what that kind of is in my mind. All right, Cole, I will let you go. And we're back on for Monday, next Monday. Talk to you then.
Talk to you then. Thank you very much.
Sure.